Hi there, and welcome back to Cut Loose, the channel where we're going to try and tell some tales of life after work. My name's Martin, and here we go. Well, as I said in the introduction to the channel, I was going to make a few videos of where I worked at Wicken Fen to remind me in years to come where I worked and what I got up to. And maybe help other people, family and friends and anybody else that watches this, help them to get an understanding of what I did for 27 something years. So I've now done some videos. I think some of them are fairly good. So what I'm going to do is cobble them together and put them on YouTube on the channel. And hopefully other people will find them interesting as well. So enjoy. This is what you see when you approach Wicken Fen Nature Reserve. It's a Thursday morning, so it's not overwhelmed with cars. But nevertheless, you can usually find somewhere to park. It's not too difficult. And as you can see, the car park comes through, and there are about another 150 parking spaces beyond this. On a busy day, this can be quite full. We have an overflow car park just beyond this in a field. And which means there's always sort of parking spaces in that part of the car park. So it's a good car park, and because it is grass, it's quite nice for picnicking, if there's space, of course. So that's the car park. So there's one of the parking machines, where we say, like paying visitors to buy a ticket and National Trust members to scan their cards. And there's ladies' toilets, gents' toilets, all sorts of information. And up-to-date information. And then as you get to the lane again, you make your way down the lane for about 100 metres. Now as you make your way down the lane, you'll notice on the left hand side there's a little cottage, and then further down, again on the left hand side and opposite on the right hand side, there are two more cottages. And these are what remain of a little hamlet that used to thrive down at the end of Lode Lane here. It was very distinct from the rest of the Wicken village, as was the norm in those days. To supplement what meagre living they could make, they also used to keep various forms of livestock. Now, pretty much all the people that lived in this little hamlet would have got their entire livelihood from the fen. And the majority of that living would have come from cutting sedge, cutting turf, catching wildfowl and eels, which used to be sold, well, in Ely. Over the last 150 or so years, these two cottages have been lived in by 4 generations of the Butcher family. The last ones were Alice Butcher and Reggie Butcher, who lived in the cottages until 1972. Fenman's cottage, there are often days when you can see demonstrations of traditional skills. The one you see here, ash that has been cut from the nature reserve, is being split to make fences. The guys also make hurdles and various other things. Oh, and of course they drink tea. During the winter, the guys are also up in the woodland coppicing some of the timber, which is where this ash came from. So as you can see, they play an active role. Well, some of them do anyway. You'll notice from this clip that the work can sometimes be very hard and laborious. Sometimes. But finally, with a little bit of extra help, the job's done. So as you get to the end of Lode Lane, on your right hand side, you'll see the entrance to the nature reserve. And at the end of the path, the rather odd shaped building is the visitor centre. And as you get to the end of the bridge, just glance to the right. So what we have here is one of the stranger aspects of the fens. This is a bog oak, referred to as a bog oak. It's the remains of a tree that would have grown here around about 4,000, 5,000 years ago, the end of the last ice age. Forest developed at that point before water levels rose. Forest developed, but as water levels rose, trees fell over into the water, peats accumulated around them, and these things, there was reduced oxygen, these things just stayed put basically. This one's about 10 metres long. But during the 1930s and 40s, during the Dig for Victory campaign, a guy called Alan Bloom wrote a book about part of what is now the nature reserve, and he was uncovering bog oaks up to sort of 30 metres in length. Massive, great big things. Incidentally, to get rid of them, he actually used explosives and blew them all up, which is a bit of a shame because there aren't many of these left now. So this is 4,000 years old. It would have been growing upright, but now it's kind of just laying here, slowly disappearing. Now, if you happen to visit the nature reserve and the visitor centre's closed, there's usually a board outside that tells you what wildlife has been around, and there is a map on the side of the building that explains whereabouts you can go. Of course, if the visitor centre's open, there's always somebody inside that's there to give you some helpful advice and give you that same information in person. Now, to the right of the visitor centre is the highlight of many people's visits to Wicken Fen. It's the cafe, and in there you can get teas, coffee, sausage rolls, pasties, scones, sandwiches, ice cream, well, pretty much anything really if you're hungry. And then, once you've rounded the outside of the visitor centre or gone through the glass doors at the back, you'll emerge out onto the sedge fen on the boardwalk, and this will be the subject of the next vlog. So I hope you've enjoyed that little intro to Wicken Fen. If you have and you want to see some more, please subscribe. Don't forget to ding that bell and give us a thumbs up. Thanks very much.